Now this is what they eat in nature. Real living things. Live enzymes, complete animals. It's not just the filet mignon or the pork chops or the chicken legs. It's everything. That's an important part because every single part of the animal has different nutrients in it. When we look at a lot of things that we don't eat today that our grandparents ate. We look at liver, that's high in B vitamins. The heart is high in iron and taurine and other amino acids. Very, very nutrient packed, very high in energy. Things like brains, which we never even think about anymore, but our grandparents ate them, and they still eat them in a lot of parts of the world. That's one of the highest sources of omega-3s and 9s on the face of the earth. The ratio of 3 to 6s in that is over 100 to 1 3s. Of course, 6s are the ones that cause the inflammation. And we want to avoid that at any cost. This is exactly what pet food companies make it out of. We've seen those probably on the internet. A lot of food companies, that's what it is. Basically, it's extruded food. It's ground up. It's not necessarily healthy. When you look at the recalls on food, especially, like there was just this one on ground beef 2-3 months ago, okay? Look at the production run that they recalled. It was a year long. This equipment never gets cleaned. It runs 24/7, never getting cleaned for maybe a year, 2 years. The quality, of course, they're blending different animals as well.
Is this food for humans or animals?
Actually, this is human food facilities.
That's disgusting.
Yes. And that's how the meat meal, actually the meat meal is that they actually take that and then they cook it into a powder, dry it out. So, and actually before they do that in pet food, they actually grind it up and boil it down so they can turn it into a powder. So now you've got 2 cooking phases before we even start to make kibble. Then the kibble process, the extrusion process that was co-invented by Quaker Oats and Purina, those who used to make, of course, cereal. That process started in, like I said, 1955. That cooking process is 5 hours, 450 degrees. Now think about it. If you put a chicken in the oven for that long, what are you going to get?
Brisket.
It's going to look like sawdust. What does kibble look like? Sawdust. But it's been glued together. Now, when we all went to kindergarten, they put the paste on the table. What was the first thing they said?
Don't eat it.
Don't eat the glue. Why? Because that messes up our stomach. Now we're gluing our food together. Think about it. The power bars and the breakfast bars and all of that. They're all adding all this glue to it. Now, one of the fastest growing diseases in humans is celiac disease. What is it doing? It's not just the wheat, it's actually the glue coating that gets on the intestine. And that's why it's characterized by bloody stools, which we quite often see in our dogs. They go through the diarrhea, and when that happens, it's bloody because they're actually sloughing off a layer of skin on the inside of the intestine to get rid of all that bad stuff. Not pretty. And of course, think about it. You can't absorb nutrients when that happens. And of course, finally, kibble does kill. The average dog food in the supermarket, and even the premium brands, contain over 200 chemicals that are not listed on the bag. When you see something like meat meal, that's where they add it. They add artificial flavors, artificial colors, sweeteners, a lot of the aspartame and neotame family, all the glutamates, the MSGs. Those are all added to make it more palatable. They have to add anti-caking agents, anti-sticking agents so that it will flow through the equipment because they're mixing this stuff dry. Also, when they put it in the bag, look at preservatives. That bag's got a 2-year shelf life. Now, one of the problems that we had back when I started in the business was with dry food, and all the dogs had problems with skin and coat. Why? Because there's no fatty acids. Put fatty acids in dry food, it turns moldy. It turns rancid very, very quickly. And of course, that can't be digested very easily by the animal. Of course, back when I started in the business too, we didn't have the health concerns that we do today because we always had to disguise the kibbles. And how did we do that? We mixed it with meat. We mixed it with our own food, or we bought canned food to mix with it. Most of the companies had products called Mix It and, you know, other various things. That was 100% meat back then. Today, those same products like Alpa and Pedigree, which were 100% meat products, are now less than 10% meat. The number one ingredient on it is corn, genetically modified, of course. And the reason that they did that is because when they changed artificial flavors and they actually had to add, because of the high amount of corn and grain in the foods, they actually add stool hardening agents to the food to bind them up, because otherwise they would have diarrhea. Nobody wants diarrhea. So when they started adding meat back into that, now they've got a healthier product and a bad product. Body's going to say, let me get rid of the bad product quickly. We're back to diarrhea. So let's make the canned food lower the quality to meet the quality of the dry food, instead of increasing the amount of meat and making a better dry product. This is what the typical ingredient looks like going into dog food.
Let me take
Now, if they're carnivores, what do we have there? You still don't see very much meat, do you?
I don't go get it. Yes, I'm fine. Sorry.
And see, things like chicken, people don't realize what the labeling law says. The labeling law allows, for instance, chicken is, even though poultry is listed in the AFCO recommendations, chicken's been completely exempted. They can use dead, previously killed, dead, cancers, decomposing chickens in the food. That's why they render it. One of the major companies just announced their brand new novel protein for dogs and cats. The feathers, feather meal. Now, even in the wild, when dogs and wolves, lions catch a bird, they pull most of the feathers off because there's nothing there. It's a little bit of roughage. But that's the kind of things that, and this is actually off of one of the major sites. Our solution? Real food, natural. Meat diets. That's what they eat. That's what they need. And the rotational diet is very, very important, because each one of these foods brings something different to the table, nutrient-wise. Like I said, the liver's high in the B vitamins, and the heart's high in taurine. Fish, of course, is not very high in omegas. Each one brings something different to the table. And you'll notice we've been showing different formats. Raw diet is by far the best.